Hello everyone. Today I'm gonna talk a little bit about fundamentals of design. And disclaimer, I'm not a designer. So why would you talk about it? I finished the design course from Code School, and the entire course takes around 2 hours. So it's just an introduction, and also we have great designers here. And please tell me if I say something wrong. This is my new badge. Yay! Attributes that influence design. Allegiance. What allegiance means? Age, race, gender, cultural niche, this kind of thing. All this is things which influence the design. The tone, is it casual? Is it formal? Is it friendly? Is it sarcastic? And the purpose, is it informal? Is it for conversions? This kind of thing. So basically, the course I've finished talk about three things: typography, colors, and layout. I'm gonna start talking about typography, and this is a serif font with small lines tailing from the edge of the letters. So you know what is a serif font. There's some categories of these serif fonts. This first one is humanist. It's a classic and traditional, and each category has a very specific purpose.
A lot of people like to spend a lot of time talking about just this.
Yeah. It's abstract concept.
Yeah.
Concept, right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes this is traditional for me, but it's not for you. And you know what I mean?
Yeah. We've actually had it with some things that have been translated. It's funny whenever you see things in other character sets, and your like impression of this stuff just switches off completely. But they'll be like, oh, that font looks like Times New Roman to them, and you're like, oh shit. Okay.
Another category is transitional. There's some explanations of the size of the corner and the size of the serifs, and there was some exercises in the course, and I was not too good in there.
Identifying the differences.
It's hard to identify actually.
Yeah.
This is the modern, and this last one is the Egyptian. One interesting thing I've learned is sans is a word from Latin, and it means without. So guess what? Sans serif are the fonts that lack serifs. Sorry, I didn't know about the sans word. This is the humanist, and the same way sans serif has the same categories, but of course without the serifs. The transitional and the geometric. Which one should you use? Well, there's thousands of fonts. Now it's the point when we come back to the first slide, we talk about the purpose, the tone, and the things about the design. So it depends of for who you are building the design, for what kind of company, and a lot of things. So for each serif or each type in each category has a lot of fonts, so it's kind of hard to choose.
Yeah.
I'd say choose the Helvetica for every time. You'll be fine, but you'll probably disagree with me. So.
I don't mind Helvetica at all. I'm totally. It got vilified pretty bad, but man, it's still pretty hard.
Yeah. I have two rules actually. As a backend developer, use Helvetica always and avoid Comic Sans ever. So
was that like the hard and fast instruction? It's like if you could do nothing else, Use Helvetica instead of Comic Sans.
Yeah.
And monospace fonts.
Yeah.
Depends.
As a developer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. There's some.
There's this
Reasons.
weird stuff about using non-monospace fonts for code. There's this font. It's called Input.
This is wrong,
Have you seen this? Weirds me out. But apparently they have all these arguments about why they think it's a good idea. I still think it's stupid. And I tried loading it into Vim and Vim just crap itself. So no.
Okay. Yeah, there's one more type, which is script. It mimics handwriting or calligraphy. And of course, this is not good at all for long text. Anyone can read this? I don't think so. Another rule is Comic Sans is a script font.
I love that's a rule.
Poor Comic Sans.
Yeah. Yeah, it's simple to remember when it's a good time to use comic fonts. Never. But yeah, this is a script font as well. I didn't know about that.
It was drawn with a mouse.
Oh.
Yeah.
No, I mean literally, it was drawn like in sort of a paint equivalent when it was created. So yeah, it's kind of hand drawn.
Yes, you can mix typefaces at the same page, at the same layout, for example. But just if you know what you're doing. Basically, this is not my case. There was some exercise in the course, and it was quite hard to get the right fonts to mix. So, for example, they give me 5 categories and a title and a body, and I had to mix with the categories, and man, I think I didn't get the right answer anytime.
It never really gets much easier.
No.
There are guidelines. There are, don't use a script in your body like you just said before. But you could use a script in the title if that was the style of the site.
Yeah, I saw some examples.
And then maybe a
great
sans serif or a serif in the body copy. So there aren't any real rules there, but there are definitely guidelines, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it doesn't get any easier because you can have any number of combinations. Yeah.
Basically, regarding that, categories like humanist and Egyptian,
Transition.
for example, I know some guidelines you are talking about is kind of you can mix this one with this category, but just if this is in the title, otherwise you have to use the another one, and it's basically you have to.
Also.
Yeah.
It's
not.
It's design.
There's actually for some of the big families that are meant for like really utility stuff like newspaper faces, they'll make a whole suite of them. So they'll make one that's like a sans and a serif pairing, and then also like a different kind of sans for like caption text, and like another one again for like tabular stuff, and they'll make sure that it's all just from the one thing, so you don't have to pair anything. It's like they're actually the same family, but it has all those bits like sans serif and mono and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, this still is very hard to remember. And you also can put these things on Evernote and check every time you have to mix. But one typeface is often enough. That's what I've learned. Well, talking about font size. This one I was pretty good. I think I mastered all the exercise. It's interesting. We usually put the title first, in a page or in a document or whatever, a title, and then you set the size. Like this will have, 60 pixels. And then we set the body size. And I've learned to do the opposite.
Yep.
You have to, the first thing is set the body. For example, web page for desktop usually is fine with 16 pixels. And
Does it change when you?
That's
What?
browser default.
Okay, right. When you go to these Retina screens, does that 16 pixels, is that translated?
A
or?
pixel. I don't think many screens have been 72 dpi for a really long time.
Yes. So how does it? Is it like a pixel here is like maybe it might really be 46 pixels or something.
I have no idea, but there's a conversion. So the pixel has become another abstract unit, like a millimeter is on screen. It's not a millimeter, but it's something. It's like consistent.
Okay.
Actually, in the Retina display, you don't have 16 pixels. You have more.
That's exactly what I was saying. Like, so
Yeah.
what do you do?
The browser takes care of it for us.
Yeah. And please correct me if I'm wrong, but when you are building a responsive design, you should not use pixels even for type size.
Use M's or
Yeah, you should
Use 100% and then
Yeah.
Some people like I prefer the 100% and M way as well because it takes into account the user's personal settings. But some other way, I'm not saying it's a good way, but another way is to set it if you wanted to do pixels or points or whatever. As long as you set that once in the document, then everything is relative to that.
Yeah.
So you could do 16 pixels to the document, but that's bad. You should do 100%.
Mm-hmm.
And then use M's or even RAMs for everything else based on that.
Mm. Okay. Let's say this is not a web page anymore. This is a document. Yeah, the subtitle should be a little smaller. Again, everything about design, I think, is it depends of a lot of things.
Yeah, like you said in the beginning.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes subtitle, a big subtitle could be good. Sometimes a smaller one could be
But
better.
here it was just about the wording, right?
Yeah, that was the only thing that confused me.
So for example, in this example, I subtract the body 4 pixels, so we got 12 pixels. And finally, the title. Yes, we left the title to the end. So 1 to 3 times of the body size. There was some exercises using these sizes, and most of the cases this was the best approach for me. So I've put this on my Evernote, and every time I have to build something, I will check this.
Nice.
You have to set the landing relatively. So if you have no idea what you are doing, set as 1.5, and that's it.
Leading is the space between.
Oh yeah, sorry.
This kerning is the session.
Yeah, this is
What is the equivalent
This is
CSS
like
property?
line height.
Yeah.
Although leading and line height work differently. In this case, the leading is the space between the lines, whereas line height actually works. This is just a syntax thing. Line height works as height of the entire. Well, it's actually more than the ascender and descender. It's kind of like it's the line height that takes us in the middle. It takes the middle rather than to the base.
Yeah, the fonts ascender height and descender height, and then it just adds relatively in either direction.
Yeah.
As opposed to traditional.
That's right.
Well,
yeah.
actually, I don't know, because leading, the reason it gets its name is because it was from slithers of lead that were crammed in between lines.
And how
of
big
type.
thick those were.
So those
Yeah, but
lines.
for example, you miss, for example, the comma, the Y, the J.
Exactly.
You miss
so,
a small piece, right?
Yeah, so the leading in that instance would have been the same as the way I think we think of it in web, a little bit. Because you wouldn't be able to put a slither of lead under, anywhere else but below the descender.
Yeah.
Or above the
But
ascender.
remember,
This isn't at the bottom of the center. This is the baseline.
remember in
Yeah.
those traditional typefaces, they were more like block capitals. A lot of them, like really small block capitals.
Not necessarily. But anyway, in web, it's better to think of it as ascender and descender. So think of because if the easy way to do that is put line height 1 and see what happens, or line height 100%, or whatever, one of those sort of values that gets it to the height of the font ascender to descender, and then you'll see the capital, the top of the capital W will be pressed up right against the lowercase y above it, or something like that. So then when you add space, it adds space between them, but think of it as that's in the middle and it's adding to the bottom.
Okay,
So when you
right,
add 1.5, it adds 0.25 to top and 0.25 to bottom. So that's just a word thing. It's the same concept, just a different calculation.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, relatively, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't set 24 pixels, set 1.5.
Yeah, maybe it doesn't look very important, but I've finished this course 2 days ago, and since then I already saw some texts in some projects without this number, like 1.5, and I changed this in it looks very quite better right
Yep.
now. Even in my personal projects I was checking and man, this is so terrible, and I checked magic.
It makes a massive,
better.
massive difference, and it's
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
one of those like
it does.
fine-tuning things that like there's just pages and pages on nerdy type forums
Mhm.
about just that value,
Yeah.
what that value should be relative to the X height of the font, the length of the line, just the relative size of the page and the size of the font. Like this is massive.
Yeah. You know where else I use this thing? Let me. Here in these slides. Yeah, here for example. I changed the landing here
Yeah.
to 1.5, and it looks better.
Is that 1.5?
I think so.
It looks like one to me.
No,
it's
it's bigger,
much higher.
bigger, much bigger.
No, but yeah,
Well, maybe I didn't change to all slides, but
Yeah,
for some, for example here, I think
that's also
it's
Wait,
also
wait.
No,
It's
it might
small.
be. I'm not
Ah.
used to seeing
Oh,
like titles.
it is, yeah, it is a giant font size. So it probably is actually, you're right, because we tend to put it down.
We always said like 1.25 on titles.
Yeah, that's true. No, it wouldn't be, yeah. You're right.
okay. Anyway, another thing is line width should have 55 until 65 characters per line. So because you don't want to read this, neither this, right? So too small and too large. So 60 should be enough for most cases.
55 and 65, that's not like
It's much narrower than you would think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's. But you'd be surprised. Like when you're reading a novel, that tends to be about the line length that you experience.
Okay, so let's talk about colors. You know the game where you have to guess the
Yes.
RGB color? Forget it. RGB is hard. Humans process ASL, which is hue, saturation, and lightness. Let's talk about the hue. Which color we are going to use? For example, this is color well. Is this the correct name?
Yep. Yeah.
Color well, cool. Yeah, so depending of which number you get, it's from 0 to
360, wouldn't it be?
Yeah, 360? Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
So,
way
sorry. Yeah, so this is, I wasn't sure if it's 360 or 369, because there's the 0. 0 is the same of the,
Oh,
360.
59. Yeah.
right? Okay, whatever. Yeah, this is basically the color you want. This is saturation. Saturation is basically the color versus the gray, right? And the lightness is the black versus the color versus the black, the white, right? So let's play with this a little bit. Here we have red, which has a hue with 0, and saturation with 100, and lightness with 50. What happened when I changed this to in the top square? I changed to 75. It's a little light, and in the second one I changed to 25, so it's a little dark. I didn't change the hue, so it's still red, and I didn't change the saturation, so it doesn't tend into gray. It's exactly the same color, just changing the lightness. But what if I change the saturation as well? I keep the same same hue, and I keep the same lightness of the beginning, and I change just the saturation, and this is the result. But if I change the hue, I will change the entire color. it's a totally different color. So yes, as you can see, it's very easy to human understand this. Totally different than RGB. RGB is just numbers, basically.
It's nice how if the like saturation and lightness are paired, they look like they're so much happier together.
Sorry, what is that?
It looks if the saturation and lightness are paired, they look like kind of they're part of the same palette.
Yeah. I've used this about, well, this is a whole different talk, but then you use SAS functions to give you a palette based on like, okay, here's a couple of hues and here's the same things, and then I want a slightly darker version of all of them. It's a great thing to use to give you a palette. Like, it's actually, it's useful as a designer to think about it in these mechanical terms, because it makes it really easy to get palettes. You don't think about palettes as, okay, I'll drop there on the color wheel and I'll drop there on the color wheel. That's nonsense.
Is it?
You need to think about it in terms of its.
This
what
is
it's
interesting
made up
because
of, yeah.
Sort of like Adobe Cooler type thing where people like.
I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, what is that?
And I'm sure it has nothing to do with Photoshop.
No, it's just these mathematical type colors.
Well, it's just this is a really simple way. Well, a fairly simple way of representing colors.
Yeah.
Better than the RGB essentially, because you need to think about. You have to think about it in, like, you know, primary school where they're like, you know, whatever and whatever makes whatever. I can't even remember. That's how much I don't. I used to. I think when you start with web development, you have a tendency to use hex all the time.
Yeah.
And then you get used to it, and then it's like, I see the matrix, and you just look at hex and do this. And then one day you realize that was stupid, and you learn HSL, and it's much better.
That's awesome because this seems like it's very common for you guys, and I never saw this before. Bro, this is
HSL.
totally new for me.
Well, to be fair, again with SAS, I usually use HSL, and then SAS goes into hex.
Yeah.
Because
That's awesome.
The support for HSL isn't.
Yeah,
It's probably pretty bloody good.
It's
these
very
days,
good.
actually.
Yeah, it's very good.
Is there a
It's
way
like
to
7 or 8.
Yeah, right. Okay, cool.
is there a way to
Well,
include
then,
X?
SAS, stop converting my HSLs.
Well, it doesn't matter. I mean, it's, you know,
Well, then
production. It doesn't matter.
But also, like when you have a look in Chrome DevTool,
You can change.
You can change. But also, what can happen is that you specify something in HSL and it's shown as RGB. So as you can change, it might be that.
I did have a little problem, and this is the most ridiculously edge of edge cases, so I should not be whinging at all. But when SAS was doing a hex conversion, it totally screwed me wanting to use SVG in a data URI, because anytime I used color, HSL, RGB, otherwise it got converted to a hex, and then it had a little hash at the beginning, and my data URIs broke.
Oh yeah.
There was no way to turn it off.
Cool. Next slide. This is the color well again. We have the hue, which exactly in the border, right? And the saturation is in the middle. So this is 0% saturation, and in the border you have 100% saturation, right? Also, you have the lightness. Lightness is basically white, black. In the middle, you have the color you choose in the color wheel, in the hue. Okay. Okay. That said, let's talk
So
about.
if you go back just.
Yeah, sure.
So by default, if we take only your circle, which lightness is used to display that?
There's no way to see that because basically this color wheel should be in 3D object, because this lightning measure here should be the Z.
I understand, but
axis.
if we take only one dimension, there could be like a kind of
Well, then it would be
default one.
I'd
like
say 50%.
100% or 50%.
I'd say 50% because you
50%.
don't have
Yeah.
even.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Yeah, so
White
otherwise,
and even black.
for example, you could have any hue and any saturation. If the lightness is 100%, it's always going to be white.
Yeah.
So they're going to completely ignore the other two
Yeah,
values.
we-
Same
yeah.
as 0%.
So Maybe
Yeah.
we can assume it's 50.
Well, I mean, it depends on what you want, but yeah, 50,
No, but-
50 allows for the other two to take over, I guess.
Yeah.
I read it. There was an article about a guy that came up with this whole system, like a color theorist that developed this whole thing. And apparently, one of the weird things about him hated orange. When he did his whole system, like he was happy to use blue, green, yellow, all that kind of stuff for names for his points on the sphere that he developed. But he would never use orange. He refused to acknowledge it as a color. Anyway.
Okay. Well, let's talk about color schema. Oops. Color. I misheard you. Sorry. Okay, so here we have an example of color schema. So the first color we use for the title, other elements to the body, and yeah, for the byline text. Just an example. Okay, so how do you create a color schema? First thing, start by selecting a base color. I saw a lot of meanings for the colors. For example, red means heat, passion, excitement. Green means serenity, health. Blue means security, truth, stability, and so on. There was more colors, and it depends, I think.
Yeah.
As always.
In the healthy dose of snake oil.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't include in these slides, but I read something. For example, you can use red in Russia, for example. This reminds about communism, so
Yeah.
it's not a good idea
Yeah.
to use red in there.
With
But
those
it
va-
always depends of the context.
With those values here, and it's really nothing to deal with this, but I was wondering if it's something which is like broadly taken, but in politics, is it the same in Australia as in France, where like the right wing would be mostly displayed as blue, and the left wing displayed as red?
I think they're all beige.
I think they're both blue, aren't they?
No, it's
Labour's
Labour's
red.
red.
Labour's red.
Oh, yeah.
Liberals are blue.
LNP is blue, and green is.
Greens.
It's in the middle here.
Yeah,
It's
well,
very left. Yeah, but that changes country to country. But yeah, that does occur here.
Yeah.
It
And-
makes
and-
me.
And the values are really similar to what they. No, but that's true. Like if you.
Lefties are sexy.
No, but it's like speaking with excitement, but probably well. But anyway.
You see, blue used a lot in corporate
Yeah.
branding and stuff.
Yeah.
It's just kind of it's kind of the boring color.
Yeah.
It doesn't say that it's really exciting, but it doesn't say that it's really.
It's like royal blue as well.
Can we remind us our own logo?
Oh yeah, it's blue. No.
I like our blue.
You gotta do it. You gotta do it. It doesn't look when it's green. It's like it's greenwashing, and that's just a whole other story.
Yeah.
When it's red, it's you're never gonna have it
Oh,
red. But then you go for like the purples and oranges of the world, and then you just like on fringe. Blue's safe, I guess. As well. Which is up there. Yeah. Oh, it isn't, but safety should be up there as well.
So
Maybe just
Fallback colour.
Yeah.
maybe just black and white is the same for
Yeah.
Yes.
everyone.
Black and white. Nice.
Yeah. Black and white's pretty. Wow. Yeah. It's also you're not trying.
Okay, so let's build a color schema. Start by selecting a base color.
Is it color scheme or color schema?
Scheme.
Scheme. Oh,
Yeah.
thanks. Let's do it again. Okay, let's create a color scheme by selecting a base color. So the color in the middle is our base color. Is this blue, 201 on here, and this is one way to make you create a color scheme, which is using exactly the same hue, just changing the saturation and the lightness. It's called monochromatic. The second one is analogous. It it does change the hue, but it keeps. No, sorry, it doesn't. Yeah, actually, it
Changes
Changes
everything.
the
changes the hue, but changes like you have a kind of sort of the hue. Like, this is the first number, and then you have the second number is numerically ordered. Right?
Yeah. Almost.
No, in the
It's
hue.
not, it's not evenly divided, is it?
Just regarding the hue.
Ah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it goes up.
Yeah.
Ah,
Oh, sorry.
How did you pick the intervals between the hue,
Yeah.
for example?
I think it's the same.
no,
No, it's not.
20, it's not quite 20 either, but it's
There's a kind of reasoning.
20,
Yeah,
15.
this is-
Feels nice.
Sorry, I don't know how to answer that.
it looks like
Oh, I
it's
see.
been semi-mathematical and then picked at random slightly to make it look better.
But I think the system isn't what is important, but just the category of the fact that they would all be around the same sort of side of the color wheel, and with similar saturations and lightnesses.
Yeah.
Next one, complementary. This keeps no, it changed everything. Actually, the same hue for here. Same hue for this one, and then we have the opposite colors in the other side.
Yep.
So, how do you get the opposite color? Just go to opposite side of the color wheel. I think if you, you can sum the first value plus 180, and you have the second value. That's it.
Yeah, good.
Okay, so let's mix in color and type. Yeah, there are a lot of yeah. This is hard to read, isn't it? There are a lot of techniques to find out if mix is good or it's not.
The first technique is called the eye.
No, but there is indeed there is some
Okay.
And sometimes
techniques. For example, you can create a script with you create a beautiful colors.
That's a very developer way of thinking about it.
Yeah.
Which is,
But there
which
is-
valid.
It's not just. Of course, if you have a look at that, you will say that's not good at all.
It depends though, because sometimes like I've seen some really cool pieces of design that use like exact opposite color combinations, and if you say
Actually, the opposite is quite good. For example, black on white, it's perfect.
But
But
if you had like this one, and you imagine like this is hard to read, written in like a huge chunky sans serif in the middle of a poster for like
Let's keep going.
for like I don't know, like a gig or something, it would be cool. It'd be really really rad. So like you were saying earlier with the like horses for courses, like different contexts. So it's not always wrong.
yeah.
But
Well,
it's
I have a
it's
good
wrong if you
example
wanna
of
read it.
opposite colors working fine.
Ah, cool.
It's my next slide.
Okay.
Let the man finish his
No problem at all. The interesting fact here is orange color or even yellow color is it wants to be lightness. It's kind of a personal thing of the color.
Yep.
Like it wants to be light. It's the a basic rule of design. And the blue, on the other hand, it's the opposite. It wants to be dark. So what happens if we change the things? If we put the orange a little light and the blue a little dark, even better, right?
Well, also what you can say here is regardless what the color wants to do, you increase the contrast between the background
yes.
and the front.
Yeah, you're right.
Forward.
Absolutely. Well, how far you are and the borders in the color will be better.
Yeah.
But of course, it's not always. This is exactly the opposite, and it's not good at all. Yes, there's some techniques. I didn't put all of them here, but one of them was this one, like yellow and blue wants to be darker or like light. So it depends of the color actually. There was another techniques like I didn't put in the slides, but for example, some colors is colder and other are hotter than the others. So you have to mix them well, choosing the right color. Yeah, it's not too easy, but when you solve it, probably you have a. Sometimes I have the impression like you are looking at a page, you know something is wrong, but you have no idea how to fix that.
Yep.
And then when someone else, a designer, for example, come and change something, you look at that and oh, that was perfect. That was it. And
I'm just thinking about like other combinations that would behave in quite the same way. So if you had red and green, which way would they want to fall? Maybe red wants to be darker and green wants to be lighter, but I can't resolve that like straight away. I can't see it in my head.
yeah,
You're also
It's not-
denying a certain point of a certain proportion of the population just the ability to read it at all.
Good point.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, like, so with it works fantastically in this instance. Like, you can see it straight away. Like, that's great.
Yeah.
But then I can't think
well,
of
red
orange,
and
blue,
green
outline.
won't be generate a good result.
no, not at all. But-
Okay.
Yeah, because they're like orange and blue. They're opposites.
Mm-hmm.
They're on the other sides of the wheel.
Mm-hmm. Is
Yeah.
it the same for red and green?
No, I don't know. I can't think of how it would resolve like
Okay.
that. So I'm thinking about like other combinations that would resolve like that. Because I want a neat little library of like, you know,
Mm-hmm.
tips and tricks.
Okay. Okay. To finish, I will talk a little bit about layout. Okay, so start with placing the logo in the beginning. As in English we read from left to right, from top to bottom. The ideal is to put the logo in the very beginning, like in the left and the top. Again, design is you have to change depending of the context. In language where you have to read from right to left, would be good maybe. I don't know. I'd say would be good to put the logo in the other side. I don't know. I'm just guessing. But yeah, for English websites, logo in the left and the top will be fine. Second thing, navigation can be horizontal or vertical. And again, if you have no idea what you're doing, use horizontal one. It's best for most of cases, unless you really know what are you doing, right? And then you have to put the main content to complete the website. Basically, this is a simple way to demonstrate how a web page is built. So make sure the content reinforces the hierarchy. Text, and a guy looking at what? For nothing.
He's looking at his
He's looking for outside of the website, or the page, or the document, whatever.
Yes, I finally got that boat.
Exactly.
On my phone.
So yeah, maybe you want to do this even better, right? Or even better, you can change the guy to the other side, looking at the text. And why would we do that? Because we want the guy to look at the logo and then to look at the content. The content is more important than the picture.
That's amazing, because if you go back 2 steps before, then I just see.
I didn't see the content at all.
Yeah.
If you go one more back,
Yeah.
One more
And
back
I-
particularly.
Yeah.
one more back, and then it's like, don't even know.
Yeah, exactly.
Giant hilarious.
That's this guy, and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Frankly, I think this is great because all I can see right now is him.
Even the logo is gone.
Which logo? Yeah, basic rules, but
That makes such
Great
a difference.
results.
It's a good example.
and yeah, of course, we can split our content like main content, secondary content, and footer, and whatever you like. And this is my bridge to start talking about grid. Basically, what is a grid? is a way to split a website in columns. So maybe you didn't notice, but if you put columns here, you will see we have a 230 space here and 1/3 to the right place, and we have 4 symmetric box talking about Mac, iPad, iPhone, and iPod. And if I put the grid again, you can see perfectly the things splitted. So that's what grid is for. Basically to help you to do
It's interesting
symmetric
that
things.
that the top navigation doesn't line up. That's
Yeah, I was curious about that.
Probably just, I would say they distribute the space evenly after, like, something like the search maybe is set differently, and then everything else is equal.
Yeah, when you click on the search, right? Yeah, when you click in the search, the field
Gets bigger?
gets bigger. Yeah.
Yeah, it probably goes to 2 columns, but well, actually maybe not, because supports it probably only goes slightly. But yeah, I mean, when you have stuff like that, it just doesn't fit in your column in your grid system, so you make up your own for that part.
Just even.
Yeah.
So I have this many
Even
items. Cool.
Obviously,
Is it
Apple
possible
needs
to-
to sell less products. Is I think the obvious outcome.
Oh,
of
just
that.
Just stop
remove
doing support.
iTunes. Why would you have iTunes on there?
Oh god, you kill it with fire.
Yeah, we certainly don't need support right up the top of my opinion. I mean, obviously it's important that you put it there, but that's not.
I was going-
that's a content architecture thing. But yeah, the grid things, and what's worth noting here too actually is that the you can go outside of your grids. You don't have to be kind of exact. In this case, they've got like the 2/3. Oh, it does fit, I guess, because it's kind of like that's 2/3. But if you're thinking about it in even thirds, it kind of is. It's kind of like make his Father's Day as a third, add your words of wisdom as a third, and then that one kind of spills outside of its third, just for a bit of visual interest. Otherwise, it would just be really boxy.
Oh yeah.
I was going to say that what if we split in more columns, but I don't think it will change.
No.
Yeah. An off-topic thing is it's weird because the Apple website doesn't work in the fonts. It's not responsible at all.
Yeah.
Like you can see the entire page in the phone.
I mean, we're all like overzealous, and now everything must be responsive. But you gotta design to the customer base. If they've done their research and 97% people buy a Mac on a desktop rather than on a phone, then
Yeah.
you don't have to borrow it.
I'd say they have the app for that
Yeah.
with the store and with the other things.
Yeah.
And especially after iPhone release, they want to show to the world how an entire website could be shown up in a small screen.
Yeah, that's not a bad
Does it
point.
make sense?
Yeah.
But anyway.
Because
there is.
before iPhone, we just have web pages. So
Yeah. No, there is something to be said for that. It's almost like they're sticking to it too long. But yeah, you're right. They could say, look, we have a nice, beautiful, simple website that will look great
Mm.
as
Even
desktop
in a-
style on an iPhone. You
Yeah,
don't
but-
need to redesign it.
Mm.
But like Apple, they're good and everything for that's no complaint with this, but and for design, but for their website, it's not like the best website ever as well. Like it's not responsive. You set it and into the JavaScript. There's heaps of JavaScript.
It's impossible to read.
into like the main window, like heaps of variables.
Oh, right.
It's not
No.
beautiful.
Yeah. I'd say the same for Google.
Yeah, if you ever inspect Google, like Gmail or something, just
Yeah.
have a heart attack.
Gmail doesn't use Angular. Why?
Well,
so old. Though.
yeah, how long will it take to
Yeah,
rewrite
2004.
Gmail Angular? Well, actually, probably parts of maybe like it's big.
Yeah.
Gmail's a behemoth, right? There's so many little parts of it.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's really off topic.
let's move on. Symmetry layout. This is an example of symmetry layout. Because we have a main element in the middle, we have the 3 boxes. So we have one of each size and one in the middle. So you can imagine something to balance. So it's balanced. And in this side we have a small window, small part of the window. In the other side we have a leaf. In this side we have a green box. In the other side we have yellow box.
Yeah.
So it's totally balanced, right? Another approach would be create a asymmetric layout. This is a good example because we have a huge element in the right side and we have a lot of content in the other side. So at the same time, it's kind of balanced. Yeah, there's a comment. Yeah, the density of this size, the left side, balances the page because yeah, all the content is on the left and the huge element is on the right. So yeah, it's not bad at all. If you know what you are doing, you will get a great result, even if asymmetric layout. Okay, and one final note: pyramid often. The first solutions is rarely the best one, so don't rush the process and try again. I don't know. Talking about Apple, they have this approach like let's build a new iPhone. So I will create different teams, like 5 teams. Each one will create a new iPhone, and then let's check which one is the better, without let any group check the other project. So it would be the same thing for layouts in design in general. So you try a lot of things and check which one is the better. So that's it. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks. Questions?
What did you think was the most interesting thing that you learned? What was the first
Interesting
thing?
thing.
Hard part.
I think it's the way how I'm thinking about colors right now.
Okay.
I was talking about this with you at the lunch. Like I always think in colors using RGB, and now I'm trying to change my mind to use HSL because it's very human understandable. And it's quite interesting to look at the things and start thinking in other ways. At the same time, type fonts is quite interesting and quite hard. So I'd say I've learned some basic things like the space of the lines or the columns. I think will be useful.
Yeah.
But I'm not able to choose a good type font yet.
It is great, like when you get those couple of rules, like you said, you have your line height in mind now, and you like just apply that to anything and go, oh, this feels nice on you. I feel happy you're reading this. I think it feels a little bit like a hint at a superpower. You start to learn these little like older tricks and stuff.
Maybe the main or the most important thing is to change a little bit your comfort zone, because well, why I'm going to learn design? You guys always do the design thing here, but well, I think it's good to everyone to learn things and to get out of the comfort zone, just to have a good arguments to discuss and to talk about and to help us to grow up. And
Well, we're always like
yeah, it's good to
moving around into different skill sets in that engine. I think. And this is cool, like, because I can imagine that you, like, it would have had to have been, like, what gave you the sort of impetus to really want to do it? What attracted you to do the design course?
Maybe I spun mail.
Okay. Cool.
An ad email, and I was about to delete the email, and why not? And there you go. I finished that.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So like something works.
Yeah, it does.
Maybe the design of the Mac was great.
I was going to say, you're going to be making HTML emails now?
Yeah.
Please.
Cool.